Hello and welcome to the skating lesson. I'm Dave Lees.
And I'm Jonathan Byer. Hi, Dave. Hi, Ken. How you doing?
Hi. I saw it. I was on vacation and I was walking down and they had
Look,
it
you're a
automatic.
Ken.
Oh, thank you.
I'm
Yes.
jealous. Yeah.
Yeah. I went to Provincetown and I saw Mark and Peter's store about Perfect Picnic, but they were in the back and I didn't. It was like a line. I didn't want to like hold up the day, to like try to see them, but
Yeah.
yes. Texted him later, but it was nice. But and also a fan told me how much they enjoy you. I was in the pool at the Crown and Anchor, and there was a guy who sent his husband over to talk, and then this guy Dan is very nice, and he really enjoys you, and your opera point of view, and yes, and yeah, all the accolades, Jonathan. So
Amazing. That's so sweet. I always feel like often like enough with the music, enough with the artistry. Like talk something about edges, but that's why we have Dave.
Anyway, we were debating the merits of Ashley Wagner in the pool of Craig, and I was like, I can't believe I'm having this conversation. But yes,
I'm trying to be on vacation. I'm treading water talking about Ashley Wagner. Yeah.
it's all right. I was having a good day. It was fine. Anything was like I didn't care.
Okay.
Because my friends are so not skating, right? That
Yeah.
so like it's almost like you code switch.
Yep. Yep.
How I would talk about something is completely different if I knew that you watch skating or were like a normal human. Like I would completely
shift gears. I totally get that. I totally.
Yeah. Also, like how I like discuss what this show is. Like I have like an answer for this person, for this group. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
You have to let people in slowly, right? To the crazy.
Can't scare them by giving them the whole shebang right away. Yeah.
But anyway,
into skating. Yeah.
so I had the weirdest experience today, right before we started, because this is a tangent, but I had always, so since I've been seeing this one therapist who does a lot of work with the body, and she's a somatic therapist, we do EMDR every week. It's very intense. It's very beneficial. It's like changed my life. But she had always advised using cold water, if like, especially like cold water and Mentos, or put your feet up, get on the, get grounded, get on the floor, right?
Yes.
If you're being like triggered by something. So I had known to like take a cold shower. Like one time someone backed into my car and it like brought up like all of these thoughts that you have, even though it wasn't my fault. I was like negatively like, oh my God, I can't get this nice. And like your brain does this stuff. So like I did the cold shower and it worked. And I started doing it on vacation. I did it one time. I got kind of stressed out on vacation. My friend was being like, he's going through a lot, but it was just this tense environment. And then I looked up like, oh, what are the benefits? And I was watching this TED talk about a guy that was like, you need to do cold showers every day for 30 minutes. And this is what like really super successful people do to like change your mindset. And it does something with the chemical noradrenaline to like, which people that have anxiety, depression, ADHD, bingo, what they're low in. And I was like, whoa, we need to be doing this. So I started doing it every day, and it was like life-changing. Like I got so much work done yesterday, driving home, like bam, planned out my life, like because you don't have that second guessing like fear in the hours after you do it. So, but today I went to like take my shower, and it like was cool, and it didn't get like cold because
the point is that it has to be almost shockingly cold, like one of the sponge baths.
You have to have the gasp, so you have to be like, whoa! And the whole point is that like you either like make that sound or like that breath, because it's like it's your nervous system like working. So I was like going around to the different gyms in the area, and for some reason, I don't know if it's the pipes or there's a setting on the water, they only get cool but not cold here. And do you know how many gyms I had to like pretend that I was like interested in a membership? And like you can't ask a person at the front like, how cold is
I would, yeah, okay.
They don't know. Okay.
A Yelp review, a Yelp list of coldest showers.
Like I could go to the Russian sauna, but like you have to spend like $50 a time. I'm like not doing this every day. This is not economical, right? So anyway, I wound up like buying an ice plunge to just fucking do it. I'll like put it.
I know people that do that, where they will purchase their own and they'll do like an ice bath every morning. Yeah.
because we could not find. Listen, if there is like a Planet Fitness or something, yeah, who cares? But this was okay, and I was like,
so if you have a cold shower at your gym in New Jersey, let Dave know.
It has to be like so cold that you think you might want to die. Okay. That's the perfect temperature. And in Cape Cod, because we were staying at this house, my friends have friends that have a house up there, and we were there, and because like it's so damn cold in Massachusetts that like those pipes were fine. That thing was frigid. It was fantastic. Like I'm now dreaming of that frigid cold shower. Yeah, I mean it's truly awful and exhilarating at the same point. And I was like, this is what we should be doing. This is like getting us in gear for life.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that do it and swear by it.
Yeah, like
I am not one of them.
And Jonathan, how intense are all of those people?
You know, the intensity does track. The intensity
doesn't it? Yes.
That I'm thinking of now. Yeah.
You know, I'm going to own it. In the words of Lisa Rinna, I'm owning it. Right. So I like to do this. I'm like, you know, when they're like, oh, you skate. And I'm like, yeah, it's like the intensity of marathon running, but you know, on the ice with lots of So anyway, I'm not. You see something that makes you like really embarrassed to be a part of skating?
Yeah, often.
Listen, I support the showcase. People do it, whatnot. The Skating Club of Boston posted a video of people like, I didn't know if this was an opening or they were like inflatable toys skating around, maybe in a competition, like inflatable costumes. It was much. Jonathan, it was much. I saw it, I couldn't look away. It was sent to me by several people being like, what the F? You know?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Also, apparently that Roy Flack show about skating took a real turn, which there were like,
I've not been following it still. I watched like the first 3 episodes.
But I started to get a weird vibe about where the show was going, and apparently
it goes there.
Yeah.
How was your interview with her? Because wasn't she on Patreon with you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
It was okay. Okay. But I don't know. Like I wasn't there in the rink. Like she was, yeah. So anyway, it was an interesting.
All of that kind of television is often steered in this way. Mainly about the shady financial
figure skater, like want to call you, but then their husband calls you as their manager, and you're like, what? Or we do.
But again, knowing it has to be set up so that the camera crew is suddenly there when that man makes that.
No, call. I mean when the person called me. So.
Oh, I see. Got it. Oh, wait, what?
Yes.
Or can you not say more?
No, like it was like I got a text like, oh, can you call me at this time? And we're like, wait, I'm calling me. And it was like the husband is like, who's the manager, and then put her on the phone. That was the only inkling that I had. I was like, that's different. Like that's okay. So I was like, all right, this is, if you watch the show, like this is all
how it operates.
Nuanced. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So you know, when we have Sandra on the show, like we message Sandra directly.
Correct, and including all the Olympic gold medalists and
like, I was
champions. Yeah.
It's never good when you have like a press person involved. They're always annoying, and they're always like they overcomplicate everything.
A third party in general for that kind of thing would. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, it's always like some white girl like, hi, right? That's
who may or may not even know about skating or who you are.
Unless it's figure skating, where like the social media manager was in the AARP. I just, right. But, you know, those were the days, Jonathan, because this weekend, Cranberry was one of the starts to the competition of really like starting momentum in the US, right?
Yeah.
They had no videos there. Now you could purchase like the individual skaters the way like a parent could. You know, you used to like back in the day, typically you would buy the entire event if you were a skater there. Now it's like if I compete in adult nationals, I can buy my performance. And it's like with a professional video, is it overpriced? Of course, right? But it's you can buy that individual video. And usually it's a downloader or they'll send you a USB. It was the only thing available for Cranberry is if you wanted to buy this. Now, Lindsay Thorngren has competed in 2 competitions where she got big scores in both and won. No one has a video.
Yeah, and I wonder if there are rules around it. Like, let's say you bought Lindsay's program. I'm sure it comes with the pretext that you will not share it.
Right, but also US Figure Skating couldn't have bought it and posted to boost their own skater or draw any interest.
Unless that was part of the deal. If part of the deal was you can buy it, but you can't promote it in any way or share it on any platform.
Well, then why'd you get that people in there other than to just make money for the rink? But why not for the whole event? And if this is a US Figure Skating sanctioned event, I don't know why. It's almost like they don't want people to see the skating, and then no one was there. So
because we did watch it all last year. It was publicly available to us last year.
And the skaters were not good. And we watched
many.
Now, there weren't many people watching the stream last year, but that had to do with it was a post-Olympic season. There was no promotion of it ahead of time. And there was really not a stellar field. But 2 years ago, there was a pretty good field. And this year, there was Lindsay Thorngren, Ava Ziegler, and Kaya Reuter, who all did well. I mean, I would have watched at least
want to see the Sandra program. Of course I would have watched.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think her free is Lindsay's free is from Yelim. She has a gorgeous dress. I mean, Lindsay had some packaging issues in the past. We remember because you did comment that you didn't like Samson and Delilah.
As a choice for any young skater, given the subject matter of the opera, that was what I said. Let the record show.
You know, Julia Lautova raised hell in the lobby. Then Nina was raising hell. Yeah. I was with COVID. And I was like,
I wrote them. I wrote.
You know, I don't even know if anyone saw the video. Everyone pretended that they didn't see it. They just heard about it from someone else who was upset. That's like what everyone does in these situations.
I stand by the comment. It was not about Lindsay.
I remember sitting there as you said it, like trying to like play act, exasperated. And the funny thing is that whole conversation and why I was like, is because privately, I said to Julia months earlier, you know, I think that music is too big for her. And then
it's my job as the opera singer to remind people of the opera plot being skated to by a young woman. That's all.
Yes. Okay. But listen, having a dust up with Julia is like getting coffee. You love her. Okay. Like we love her. Okay. I was talking to the Ice House manager. She's like, you know, I love her. I hate her. I can't live without her. She's just the most entertaining person in the sport. Like there's just, she's just fire. And that daughter that's winning all the competitions, also fiery, I would imagine, at least on the competition ice. So
or not. It's impressive. Like how we were talking about with Barbara Fusar-Poli sometimes. When you have such a big presence, I don't know, do you mimic it or do you fade to the background to accommodate?
Imagine it's a Wuthering Heights situation.
Okay. Also, by the way, yeah.
I don't know who the Heathcliff is in this situation, but anyway, yeah. So this is really, you can't see these videos anywhere. We may need to just get the Lindsay video, but really, Julia, this is your top skater.
Promote her.
Let's promote it. Let's put it on her Instagram. Let's build it up. Lindsay's shy, but you know, we can.
And to me, there's more buzz because of the new choreographers, because of the packaging. Like I am far more.
Lindsay is shy and didn't know how to name drop yet, which is why I asked Sandra to come on because she said, "Oh, the person who did my program suggested this song."
The person. I think you mean the person.
But you could tell like she was just being like honest and not like
Yeah. She didn't even know what
she tried to name drop. This is not a Benoit program. There's not a car crash. This is not shame-based,
Then is it even a program? And the music of a lot of the programs we were listening to this week, I was like, dear, all the panting and heavy breathing and phone call sounds. And I was like, make it stop.
Deanna's short program music.
Speaking of odd breath sounds that didn't not sound adult.
Like, opening is cool. There are parts of it that are cool. I would personally have mixed it with something else to just give it more melody, but they've gone the route the last 2 seasons where they really create the energy, not the music. Like the music is not carrying them, which is like a choice, right? So I think that's harder at the beginning of the season because the program isn't, the program was completely working for me. I thought the lift was stunning.
Oh, lift. Oh my gosh, her position. And then the exit with the continual rotations. Yeah. I thought that was
mind-blowing.
Divine.
The position of the death spiral was gorgeous. They did the toes, the loop, she stepped out of. So I think the part that I noticed, like the music is when they got out of sync on the spins. It really kind of like sucked the air out of the program, but that always happens when anyone is that, out of sync on spins. And then I just thought that maybe they could add a little choreography they're going from like the red line to the blue line, like before they start their step. And I thought that like they're doing side by side choreography, but maybe if they intertwine, it's just like missing a little something for me, that it needs like a little
that may still be added.
Zhuzh or body contact or something is just a little missing
in that moment. Yeah. It was effective. It was
it looked great. I have to say, like, I think,
and big energy and command of the ice, like, again, because so many of the times we saw her last year, there were circumstances that made it sort of a questionable way it was going to go at a competition, but here she seemed so much more confident, and it just made the skating that much more exciting.
Yeah. And I have to say, I think it's really smart for her to only do a short program at this point. That's appropriate, right? For a team of that stature.
Yeah.
I'm really confused by Japan. And they're almost following what Korea did. And over time, they've had Kaori do a lot of competitions, but she's a different skater than she was years ago. And this is no longer beneficial because the older you get, the longer it takes you to get in top shape and to maintain, right? And you need like a downtime. And she's at a weird stage where they went from the World Championships on tour. They did World Team Trophy. They did shows after. Then she got new choreography. Then she's putting out this program several times.
Premieres it, and we watched the premiere.
Watched the shows.
Yeah.
And then we're seeing it in... then we're seeing her do the short program.
Misses the double axel, which is unheard of for her.
Unheard of. Which just shows like she's not ready. She's not in her top world champion.
Some balance check things that just told me that maybe the preparation for this was a bit rushed and haphazard.
So now we've seen her fall several times, right? Like in this free skate, and just like the programs haven't come off well.
Although I have to say, under competition lights here, especially the beginning of the free skate, was selling me more on it. It's still not what I would have chosen or a masterpiece, I think, but it was much more convincing here. Landed the triple Salchow, which I was not expecting, but it was clear she used up almost everything she had in the tank, because then halfway through the program, it just deflated.
I find that this set of programs shows off her weaknesses, where last year she worked to improve them and it masked them at times. Both the dress, the style of the short, I respect her for trying to become more refined and more of a complete skater. She looks weaker to me this year, and I don't know what it is. Obviously, I think it's incredibly hard to defend a world title. It looked like it was hard for her to get that confidence up last season, and there's probably some imposter syndrome and all this stuff after you're being, chasing a bronze for so many years, and then now you're expected to win. And the way that it happened with the Russians being band and everything has to cause a whole shift mentally. And now I think because she doesn't have enough downtime and then to get back up, we're kind of seeing subpar efforts here. Not that she should be perfect at this point in time in the season.
I think she's trying. It doesn't look like a lazy sort of lack
we
of
shouldn't
effort.
be seeing it, right? Like this is the kind of things that you do in private, right? To get where you need to be.
I was thinking about that, especially with the Japanese videos we saw here, because some, it just looked like it was too early to see it yet.
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh my gosh, as a part of the creative and artistic process, like you need time for it to incubate before everyone is seeing it, before you're simulating the performance or competition of that piece. Like it just needs time to simmer. And all it looked like here, almost across the board, was that people just need more time privately where not everyone is watching it with an audience that was excessively clapping. It was driving me bonkers. Even some like silent moments, the audience just started like clapping along. But I just thought, gosh, I would want those parts of my journey to be private, personal.
Yes.
I would think. Yeah.
Yeah.
But where do you compare her where she is now at this point in the game compared to last season when we knew she was sort of a little bit behind schedule, but understandably so?
Last season, she was a mess at this point.
I would say to me, she's stronger than she was at this point.
She does seem stronger, but the energy seems like sluggish or something.
I think exhausted.
Exhausted, like, yes.
Just as she's about to start, I'm like, go on vacation or something.
I think that they're mistiming this. And I'm not saying this is to criticize her. I just think, and I get that there's different pressures in Japan because they're contracted to do all these shows. She's one of the stars. But
I don't envy her task, that's for sure.
It's not working for her in the timing of this season. Like Shoma did a short program, right? He is also a two-time world champion, right? Right.
And Olympic bronze medalist, yeah.
But for someone like Kaori, you think like, the Japan Open would be a good time to do a free skate.
And that's okay. I think through her accolades, she has at least earned that she doesn't have to be at the same competition.
They have her compete way too often, in my opinion, in these competitions. There was no crowd at half of them last year. I mean, skating wasn't doing the same in Japan, but some of these events were really
unnecessary.
Yeah. And maybe they were for different reasons, but it was too much for an athlete of that.
It seems rushed, and then you think, for what? There's no reason to rush it.
And every year that you get older, it gets tougher, and every year, you have more pressure on you as well. So I just don't think it already. I thought about Kaori last year like this. I'm thinking her going into the season like this. I've already calculated in my mind who I think can pass her and how well they'd have to do.
Well, if Yelim has a David...
Exactly. We already talked about Sandra. That's where my mind went. I think if Yelim doesn't do 70,000 competitions, which the Korean skating federations want to do, she would have a great shot. High-end Lee also has a good shot.
Yeah.
They're opening the door by over
competing a little bit. Yeah, I agree. It just seemed tired and rushed.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
What did you make of Shoma Uno's short program?
Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed. Where I have to be honest, I thought here the Japanese women, although albeit lovely in their own right, each one, just in general, that field is not as deep as it has been in other times at a top level. Whereas I think right now with the Japanese men, as is often the case, there are some real contenders here. And I'm sorry, like I thought the opening of this program, even though it was very much a familiar style for Shoma, it was still new versions of steps. Like like how you were talking about with Jason's program in the second half, still being of the Jason flavor, but with some new variations on it. That's what I was feeling about this opening in particular. And I thought the quad toe with the music change was like the most perfect thing. The triple axel looked the best. The entrances to the spins are gorgeous. The quad sao was beautiful. And I think this kind of music is exactly right for him because it's the beauty and elegance of classical music, but with this sort of cinematic danger as the undertone, which sort of gave me the beauty of Shoma, but also the edginess of Shoma all in one program. Big fan.
Okay.
Big fan.
I liked it very much. But there's like an element with the Lambiel choreography and also the Lambiel performance that has been growing over the last year. Remember what he did? He's such an artist. He's becoming, in my opinion, like very indulgent in just his overall affect. And I noticed it in like some of the shows he did in Japan last summer. He was very avant-garde, or, you know, we're getting into the capes and the covering and
the skating with Guillaume.
Okay, we're gonna get to that.
Okay.
Did you notice that they were both having very independent moments, right? They were, but no chemistry with each other really for this. It was almost like they were showing each other up on the ice in this performance with some very interesting moves. I mean, look, they're both incredible.
On their own, for sure, yeah.
But it's almost like it needs an editor, like, to tone it down. I mean,
or make it cohesive. Like, how do these two great artists then
the part where to see legend Guillaume Cizeron, he was like flopping around on the ice like a mermaid at one point. A merman, granted, I watched that Netflix series. I mean, I really thought I could do it as a mermaid.
I saw that come up on Netflix the other day, and I was like, I'm watching the trailer for this. And then after I watched the trailer, I was like, goodbye, I am not watching.
I mean, Jonathan, like, I feel like we know people like that.
Maybe there's going to be some adult nationals programs based on said theme. Yeah, it's very possible.
I feel like there could be some adult nationals competitors who become mermaids. Like, this
I mean, that's sort of where I was going with that. Yeah.
And not just adults, really just skaters in general, you know?
Yeah.
I know so many characters.
But did you find that the Shoma choreography was sort of coming across as self-indulgent?
I mean, I think the feathers on the costume and it just gives the overall affect.
Of self-importance.
There's a way that they like move the toe and extend it, like Shoma and Lambiel, that's like really stylistic and something that they've developed. But like with the floofy, like the feathery, it was almost like too much. Like, it's beautiful music, right? Like, I feel like there's always like a balance with like highlights and like accents. And I almost found this way with like Johnny Weir as a professional, where it was like all about the costume that I didn't really care for, but there wasn't much about the skating. And with Shoma, his skating is so beautiful that I don't think you really have to like have like the feathers and the stuff, because it's almost a distraction.
What's so funny, Dave, as I was watching, I didn't even notice it. I didn't even notice the costume being detracting. I just thought he was in all black. What was he wearing?
There's one version that we watched where he's like in like a silvery gray.
From the ice show or whatever that
was.
Yeah, and I wondered, now seeing this one in sort of a tamed down costume, I wonder if this is going to be the costume. I had wondered if in that previous video we saw like a leftover show costume. Yeah. And he was skating in it. I liked his costume for this iteration of the program.
But make no mistake, that Lambiel and Cizeron video was much.
It was much. Designed to be as.
Listen.
Yeah.
I think that if it's a competition, listen, are they better skaters? Incredible, right? But I think
the chemistry between Maddie and Gabby.
Maddie and Gabby had more chemistry. And frankly, I missed seeing Gabby next to Guillaume. Like, she makes it warmer somehow. Like, the two of them
balances it out.
He's so amazing, but almost seems like distant and remote. And she like gives the heart to that team, like the yin and the yang. I mean, he was obviously incredible. And I didn't find that Stefan gave it the warmth that Stefan was in like his own Michael Jackson like journey of like the performance and I don't know, there's an energy to there that's it's interesting. It was just
the Maddie and Gabby one was one about connection, which to me is so much of what dance is, as opposed to maybe over here, where it's like, look at the beautiful position we can both hit on our own. Yeah.
Well, have you ever met lesbians? They always say that they've had to work harder, you know, like, so, and I will just say, women in general have had to work harder. And you know what? Gabby and Maddie, I think, worked harder in this duet. It was more cohesive. They were practicing.
Connected.
You know, and I was really, like, fascinated by Madison Hubble in general. You know, like, aren't you just, there's just never enough of her, right? We just need more. Yeah.
Yeah. There is something very attractive about her power as a skater, especially live.
She's an interesting one. She's an original, right?
Yeah. One of a kind. Yeah.
One of a kind. Like a Julia, an Alexa, a Deanna, an Ashley. Yeah, she's...
Sport attracts these personalities and we respond to them. As opposed to, for instance, many of the other Japanese women we saw competing this weekend, which unfortunately sort of fell into that generic cookie cutter forgettable quality, when really all we're looking for are the memorable ones.
You see the TSL glossary on Patreon, and we can, you know, all you know, to that. But also, Mao Shimada looks like she's gotten taller since last season.
I meant to ask you, so she is officially moving to senior this year, or is she competing again?
She's still junior again.
That's what I wondered. I think that's a smart move.
Well, she has to because of the age change. Remember, we're in this whole situation. Okay. So, but it looks like she's really lost the timing on her jumps because she's grown so much. So, again, you start to be like, I don't know if she's going to be ready for the Junior Grand Prix to be, hopefully, but, you know, and I'm sure Miyahara is just being so patient and kind and understanding. That's what we've heard about her. I'm sure she is
telling her she's doing the best she can right now and just trust the process. Yeah.
Trust the process. You know how Sandra speaks, you know?
That's the Sandra, always.
That's the kind of energy we get from, you know, Miyahara.
I mean, it was interesting also with the packaging in her short program. She looked so much younger to me than she ever appeared on the Grand Prix circuit last year. It was very sort of youthful packaging. But man, I'll tell you,
that's not a compliment, right? You were subtle shading there.
I guess I was saying it without judgment. It was just an observation that I was like, this
not a read, just a fact. Yeah,
just a fact that it looked
not a read, just a fact.
Yeah. Say like the plot of Samson and Delilah. But the double axel in the short program had a gorgeous ride out on that edge, and the triple Lutz triple toe was so clean. The spins were fast. Like, I think she deserves better music. I didn't know what was happening there, but in the free skate, obviously, the triple axel issue, the quad toe issue was almost scary to me. Okay. The way she came out of that, she went in so tilted, but came out forward and very jumbly, to the kind where I was worried about her impact on the landing. She's committed to the free skate. I just find it generic. I think she can do more if given the chance to do so.
Yeah, but I agree. It was messy and rushed in general. So
not as elegant as I was expecting, I guess, because I know she's capable of that.
Yeah, it was not good. I think in general, it's going to be a shifting, right? Like maybe Gia has more of a chance than some of the other skaters this fall.
Shimada was catching my eye much more instantly last season, but she had different programs, and I will be curious to see what Gia comes up with, because I think this could be her opportunity.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yoshida, she also tried the triple axel, sat down. But her program was very bothersome to me. I found the name, it was full of speaking, and especially on arena speakers, like you couldn't even make out what was being said. That was just a no thank you for me on that short program in particular. But what about Mao Wabe?
I liked it. I liked Monica Wabe's. She's a sleeper, right? Where gets slowly better over time, little ups and downs, but I like Monica Wabe.
Again, the short program utterly baffled me. Like she ends in the final pose and she's doing these like guns to the sky. And I'm like, what was that part of your program or something? Like I wasn't really sure. Like she was sort of uninspired in the program, but yet there's something nice about her skating. You know, I think the one that interested me the most, and I was not expecting.
The 3 was the better program. Okay, yes.
Yeah, and we saw. Do we say Ryon?
Yeah.
Sumiyoshi. That was sort of not my favorite either. It was Mona Chiba. Okay. That was kind of the most interesting to me here.
Okay. Yeah.
I was surprised by that because I can't say in the past she's always been a memorable skater to me in the mix of so many great skaters. But here she was really committed in some moments. The program went by like that. You know, sometimes when we say that was the longest short program ever, this was a really short program, I thought.
Yes.
And the free skate was, you know, a little obvious. The jumps were well timed. She had some lovely skating. I don't know. She was sort of a standout here for me.
Well, I think the standout for me of the week was Olivia Smart and her partner, but really Olivia Smart skating to Blondie. You didn't enjoy.
Call, get it? We're going to do phones because we're talking about calling on the phone.
All right. So that, you know, but the opening movements, she was giving the 80s energy that we have not seen any of the other teams be able to deliver. When I saw the opening of this program, I thought, finally, someone understands like the 80s were sexy and fun and interesting. And well, Olivia, I loved it.
I like her very much.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, and we have discussed there is an inherent limitation, I think, to how good some of these rhythm dances will be based on what I think is a huge misstep.
Yeah.
In the rhythm dance assignments for this year. But, you know, I as someone who does not ice dance or know how to spot potential in new teams, which I am owning, a lot of the patterns were very nerve-wracking for me to watch.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just like normal news stuff. There was just an inherent cautiousness or apologeticness to some of the skating, understanding it's a new team, understanding that they have not had enough time. So I'm curious what is going to be a limitation of their partnership and what is just like normal, just kind of figuring out how they're going to do this kind of.
Well, I was freaking relieved, okay, because this always seems like he's got a lot to live up to, and I wasn't watching him yet, really, but he didn't distract me, so he was fine.
It's got to be different also with someone such a different size. Like Adria was smaller and more compact, but had so much core, right? So it was interesting seeing Tim. It was a lot of like wacky waving limb movement and didn't seem to be centered in his core as much as she.
And he seems wacky and wavy on his YouTube vlog, like as a positive, not just a fact, right? He just seems eccentric, right?
Nice.
So I was relieved because do you remember like for 5 or 6 years with Adria, like they were a hot mess. Remember when they used to try to do like the twizzle with the tuck variation and they'd always get off at different speeds. Sometimes it looked like they were going to crash together. Who's doing an extra, who's missing it. Just in general, there was a real uneven quality often. And some of the themes that they picked were choices. Right? Some were great. But then the last season, she really found that confidence, especially with that free dance at the Olympics in the green dress with the sword fighting. And she last season didn't skate, but did do very well on Torvill and Dean's Dancing on Ice. So I was glad to see her like skate with that much confidence and togetherness. Like we were not back to the old days with Adrian. Let me tell you, I was nervous. Okay, like I've been nervous about this boy. Okay. I'm still
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't say that this alleviated my concerns, but
I feel cautiously optimistic
okay.
that maybe Patrice Lauzon's scary, calm, firm energy is like guiding him. Like
And again, because when you
a cruise ship,
her,
like he's just
they were still like behind schedule a bit, given of all of her performances and appearances and all that sort of stuff. So I realized they're also probably even later in the game, especially being a new partnership, than obviously Carrera and Ponomarenko.
Okay. If Anthony Ponomarenko didn't have famous parents, would we be as invested in them, or just say this is a very nice fifth place team at Nationals?
Correct. In my opinion, that's
okay. So he's had the parents, so we've always been like more invested in him, right? Then he had the partner who can't get citizenship. Now she's driving over the border. Now I'm listening to her interview with Paulina, so now I'm feeling bad for this girl. Now I'm like more invested. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is never a good thing. I'm just saying.
I know.
The ones that we care about. What?
It makes it so emotionally tough for me when I start caring.
Ask Deanna. She'll swear that we're tougher on her than other people because we were invested, which is probably true.
Because we're invested. I get that also.
We were tough on Ashley Wagner because we were invested, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
With Alexa, same thing, right? With this team, I have yet to be invested because of anything happening on the ice. And what I mean is, they're very nice and they're very good. There's nothing great. There's nothing wow that you don't see from another team. I think the perfume packaging works better. And the problem for me, Christine has improved a lot. I don't think Anthony's skating ability, I know he's had a lot of ankle injuries, and it looks, he just doesn't have the skating skills of like a top Charlie White, Scott Moyer, even like an Evan Bates, who you don't think of as like
smooth about their skating.
Clem?
There's something still very smooth about their general glide, but I kind of know what you mean. It's not a next level thing. Yeah.
No. And they're in a tough spot because they're with a bunch of teams that are close in ability, right? Yeah. So they're close with Zingas and Kolesnik and Green and Parsons, right? And because the teams above them are not retiring, you're almost like, where is this going to go?
Yeah. I mean, in the short program, like the highlight,
make any mistakes because they're like two very solid skaters, but not well. Like
very in sync. Like in the midline step sequence, like they were doing cool kicks that were right on together. But you're right. What's that thing that they do better than everyone else? And I think they're just doing everything pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they are like Scott and Madison Hubbell's first top team. So there's that pressure too for them to do something.
It'll depend on those other teams' material, I think. One of the highlights for me in the free dance was their like straight line lift and the rotational lift. Like they really got cooking on those two lifts. And I thought, oh, if they become like the crazy lift team, this could be their identity. But they didn't sort of mimic that same thing in the rhythm dance as much. But
they didn't. Yeah.
I like if they became the team where it's like, get ready because they do the most awesome lifts, which they kind of showed us they're pretty capable of. Then it would
good lift, but not Chalk and Bates lifts, right? They have good skating, not Hawaii and Baker 1 foot skating. Yeah. So, to me, that there's something still separating them from the great teams, and they haven't hit it yet.
I think it's identity.
What?
Well, it's an identity that's lacking because
but also some of the physicality in terms of just the overall movement ability, and I don't know what it is that's going to get them there, but it feels like a little. Some of the other teams just like move easier across the ice. Like it's just inherently the flow across from some of the other.
I think to be honest, part of it could be that I watched them right after Olivia and Tim.
Mhm.
Which is not to say Olivia is not a great skater, or Tim, I don't know much about his skating, but like to see an established team compete after a brand new team that's been short on time, you did see the difference that way. But like you said, we did not see them with their other competitors.
I thought that comparison is different. When I saw it, I saw this as Olivia Smart as one of the best female ice dancers in the world. And she's showing that extension, that power, the core, the flow, the glide, the performance ability. No, this is not refined yet, but there's an upside potential, right? When I saw Correa and Ponomarenko, I thought this is good, but does it get much better?
That's fair. Yeah.
And I don't know.
Especially knowing that these kinds of injuries don't just disappear and stay away.
Well, he did have surgery, so, but yeah, it's, just a tough thing. Because I think, who knows when he hurt his ankle, but I remember during COVID watching them on the fake sectionals, whatever it was, when we watched all of the videos and seeing their performance and just thinking like, his skating skills are not as up to Michael Parsons or John Luke. And these guys are all phenomenal, right? But that's who they're against, right? Is these phenomenal skate, and they're very good, but they need to find their own thing that's going to make them phenomenal,
right?
And I think the programs get better from season to season, but like it has to be a combination of like the skating and the material.
I would think that for any new coach, regardless of their credentials, their passion, where they may end up, I would imagine right now it's about like small improvements to each element, as opposed to sort of this broader picture, like how Sandra talks about, like, I envision this, we need to do this, we need to bring this out, where I think for them, it's going to be like, oh, let's make that twizzle a little faster or a little cleaner, which, like you're saying, isn't necessarily what's going to help them break through.
No, how about Hannah Lim? I thought that was an interesting, the Koreans, they're doing Prince, different cuts than Tessa and Scott did. What I noticed is that she's got so much star quality in the beginning, but then throughout it, then you start to see where the posture needs to be better, the extension needs to be better. And when a female skater wears a pantsuit, I feel like their extension has to be like Carolina Kostner stretched, right? And there were times when Carolina didn't have that same extension when she was really coming up, kind of like before 2011, right? Where her legs were not always, as Laurie Nickeled as you'd want. And it's also a distraction, right? And I thought for this team, I thought, okay, they have so much potential, but there's a lot of work still to be done.
Although, just like going back for a second, I thought some of the worst packaging was Carrera's dress in the free dance, where I don't understand the story of she was stabbed and is bleeding out and dies at the end.
It's that perfume, that Anna Sherbakova, which of course, not a very popular film, at least here, but not a story that everyone knows, right? Like, oh yeah, the perfume.
But like, again, harking back to the Misha Gee, blood in red sequins Jesus number he did, she's got like sparkly blood dripping down her backside, and I was just like, I don't think this is doing what you think it is.
It was a choice.
It definitely was.
Not your choice, but it was her choice.
Correct.
And
we all make choices.
We all make choices. And you know what? She's working very hard. She's driving back and forth.
We know partnerships are hard, according to an article we read.
Listen, Tara Kane is letting it out, okay? Always a hot tamale who we loved, okay? Listen, I think the best thing, do you know what okay, so she's obviously, it seems like she was writing about her former partner.
100%. That was very clear. Yeah.
Well, we like never said it by name, but there was implication, right?
I was very aware, complete to family situation that also.
But there's another dynamic here that like is so interesting. Because remember, Danny had like the child partner last year, still, right? Like the Shelby Lyons and Brian Wells, like uncomfortable age dynamic, right? But the year before, he was with Chelsea Lou. Chelsea Lou is skating with Tara Kane's boyfriend, Balaj. So imagine what they even know about what went down with Chelsea and Danny, and why did they split when they seemed to have potential? Because it seemed like maybe Danny was going to stop after the Olympic season, but he certainly hasn't. And I don't know that story, but she like quit skating for a year.
Yeah.
So and he didn't seem like to be a part of like that football team of guys that Jenny Mino has with like the Brandons and the Nates and the Chris Kinnerums, right? Like, I don't know. He's in Colorado. So yeah,
I mean,
the guys Jenny Mino has, they're like cattle, right? Like they're all like just
like a frat house. Yeah.
A frat house, and they're like pulling the wagon on the Oregon Trail, right? Like one's more solid than the next. They were not the flowers of their team. Okay. But they did yeoman service for years. Okay. Yes. Oh my God. Thank God Nate is coaching. I can't remember, because Nate, he has those like really short arms, and they would always give him those choreographic moments where he'd throw someone and go like, and he'd be like, oh no.
Yeah, not helping.
Yes.
Yeah. The other thing you sent me this week that I thought was really interesting was the interview Brady did with Paulina.
Yes.
And I was curious, was there any new information in that for you?
More specific stuff about what her injury was.
And that she was like, this was happening. I mean, at the time, we were all speculating because there was no information being given. And it was like, will she try this? Did she overtrain in Colorado? It was sort of interesting to hear firsthand.
I love Paulina. I live for Paulina's Instagram. Her energy, like her skating versions of thirst traps, showing off her twizzles and I really think the highlight of Paulina's Instagram could be like, I'm the best American lady right now. Like, okay.
I think
when we first met like Ashley Wagner, Mariah, Gracie Gold, Paulina, like out of the four, Paulina was always getting like the pewter in terms of personality. Now we knew she had an intense mother, right? And we knew that she was like very confident. But like we had no idea. Right? Until Paulina really like went to college and came into herself. She's the most interesting one out of all of them, right? Like she's a fascinating character.
She's a personality, quite frankly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Which was interesting. And I mean, it was even in time she has admitted like she did not know how to bring that to the ice when she was competing. But whereas, like, I don't know that Ashley has such a personality, despite whatever she does on that podcast, or Gracie or Mariah, like, they're not inherently performative personalities in that.
Oh, no, Ashley has a personality.
She does.
I did see posts where she was like, I'm excited to be a parent because I haven't had good parents. And I was like, it's
an interesting way to announce that.
Well, I don't think she's announcing her pregnancy. She had announced it earlier, but I was like, that's very real and raw. And not everyone would put that, purposely.
Yeah, not the angle I would take, I guess, if I were posting a pregnancy photo, but I don't know because I don't. So
no, I'm not freaking pregnant, right? So, but I'm sure that that's very real. So what you think, I just don't know that I would tell that to my vet, but that's.
But she's living out loud. That's very clear. Yeah.
Always has. Gracie also living out loud with that book cover. But yes, and Mariah is now like, Paulina is just like stealing the oxygen in the room. Like, who knew? Okay, like
for instance,
these girls seem regular. Okay, these are like. I'm sorry. Until you see Paulina in the hot pants do the 72 twizzles, I'm sorry. And then, you know, when she's doing her double axel, Euler, triple sow, adding combos on, like, you go. Okay, I would cheat for Paulina so hard at US Nationals. She'd be getting into the free skate ahead of Gracie Gold. Okay.
But it was even interesting to hear Paulina talk about the comeback with Brady. And she's like, well, when I was doing my comeback, this is...
Remember, she had that injury after 2016 with her leg. Yes.
She was saying, like, I was so embarrassed. But it was so interesting because I was there in person in France when she did make the comeback. And it almost seemed like her and her mom were treating it like it was... I don't know, irrelevant.
Sometimes you laugh when you're uncomfortable, when you're...
And now in hindsight, I was like, oh, that's what that was. I mean, they just seem so dismissive of the whole thing in the moment.
Did you do that Cats program in person?
Yeah.
That was that was a moment.
That was a moment. Yeah.
I am a Paulina fan. Always have been. Okay, I
don't know if that's true, but I do remember when you interviewed her, and that's when
you were a fan then too.
Going on, and she's like, "Well, I'm the only one that has all my dance tests," and I was like, "You should be that. Good
how to promote herself." Okay, we need to live like Paulina. Okay,
and that was, you know, in the culture of where everyone was faking their interviews, and then she came like barreling out in total honesty and lack of humility, and there was something really refreshing about it.
I remember I laughed so hard when like because you know when they like write an article about you that they're gonna find like the negative part, like that's part of it, right? And like you didn't know like who or what or you know, and like, and I remember like being like Paulina about her Gone with the Wind costume, and I was like, well, one, I stand by it. You know, she came on and we you know agreed to disagree, you know, but she had her very valid points about it, and I was like, okay.
But she was very confused then when she did not win, but we knew that she could never with that particular material. Yeah.
Listen, just, it was a choice, okay? Maybe it wasn't my choice, but it was her choice, okay?
Because we all make choices.
We all make choices. Or as Miss Val would like to say passive-aggressively, life is all about choice. I guess you made one. You know, yeah.
What will you do with yours? Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, for the latter part of this, even though we haven't seen Lindsay Thorngren's full program yet, I may just break down and call that company and post it. But I don't know. We'll see.
I watch it.
We have Sandra talking about her work with Lindsay, with Yelim. She also, like, such a flex. She's like, oh, and this is right before, you know, she's like, oh, yeah, the view of the CN Tower in the back of her.
Oh my gosh, her office setup for your chat with her is amazing. It's amazing. It's everything I want from Sandra.
It was like, we went out to dinner in the spring and like it felt like we were on a date. You know, she's just wonderful. You know, she's just the best.
Amazing.
She's the best.
Old news. Oh, I felt this way. That person, or what would Lindsay say? The person who I do the interview with is amazing.
Hold it, you look sexy, everyone, right now.
Okay.
Jonathan, not to mention that Alena Kostornaia married Georgy Kunitsa. This has been, you know, a very short engagement. Did you ever read Perez Hilton back in the day?
Perez Hilton. I mean, I was aware of him, but
right. But it used to be like, you used to like follow. The thing about that is, and he did a lot of really gross things, but you used to like follow the day-to-day hijinks of these celebrities, right?
Okay.
I feel like there's an element of Alena Kostornaia, like we're watching, and Trusiva too. I feel like we're watching them the way that we used to watch like Lindsay and Mary Kate go like shopping at Fred Siegel, like, and like all of...
What was that section of People magazine? It was called like Star Treks, and it was like, what are celebrities doing? Yeah.
You know, this has that energy of like that starter marriage that you have when you're young. I saw
the ones you will reflect on later. Yeah.
I saw one post that said, when you and your husband both have like braces in your photo, it may be time to take a step back and think about like the timing of this.
Because how old is she? I mean, maybe I just still think of her as really young, but to me, I'm like, and also in my world, both being in Manhattan and then also being a performer, like most of my friends get married late 30s or something like that. Yeah. So this is
Also, I mean, look, maybe this is the love of her life and this will all be great. They're also skating together. I think she's the stronger skater between the two of them. I mean, what could go wrong here? What could go wrong? But then you think, like, why are her parents letting her get married so young? And then you think, they let her train with the Terry. That was a choice. Maybe not the choice I would have made as a parent, but that was the choice that her parents made. Okay.
Yeah. So they're like, yeah, whatever. Well, I look forward to getting something off her bridal registry for sure.
Yes. Okay.
New York, like top hat.
Yet, that was not the craziest thing I saw this weekend. The craziest thing I saw this weekend, this is the thing, is that the Russians, if you remember when we didn't love Deanna and Gleb's Swan Lake. All right, it was trashy, right? But it wasn't the worst that we've seen, right? And then, of course, there's the token Russian comment. Well, we invented the ballet. Yeah, well, Diana didn't,
Almost commented on that. And I was like, because I have learned to never engage in those situations. But I wanted to comment, did George give birth to the ballet? I was like, I didn't know the birth of ballet was in Georgia. And I was also like, where I am from has also come up with a lot of things that I am also not good at. Baking an apple pie or baseball, I can do not.
I also love when she posts photos of her father from the back, which is like always one of those things that's so talked about and like not her fault, but like just, wow. Okay. Trusova. Some of these Russian ice shows are pure shit, okay? And they put on complete garbage. Yes, there's a million people on the ice. They're doing ridiculous skating. It's like these fairy tales, and it's a night. I mean, listen.
It reminds me of that like late 90s, early 2000s when we were just oversaturated with those kinds of shows and events here, and they just started getting ridiculous.
Right. So Alexandra Trusova skated as Clara from The Nutcracker.
Alena Kostornaia.
It felt like Tanya Harding doing The Dying Swan. It was a choice, okay?
Those are the Dying T-Rex, which she did do.
It was maybe the worst mismatch of skater and program and garbage that we've seen in a long time.
But other than that, you loved it.
I don't know if I loved that it happened or was appalled that it happened. And then it's going to be from some Russian that's going to be like, well, we invented the ballet. And you're like, if you invented the ballet, how do you explain that?
I know. And you came up with Tchaikovsky, who like, come on, do the man justice. Like, come on.
Bless.
Yeah. We all make choices.
Yes. Sandra, welcome back to the skating lesson.
Thank you, Dave. It's good to be here. Have you been having a good summer?
I'm having a good summer. I just got back from vacation. How about you?
I've been back and forth up north.
Okay.
And in the city for the summer. That's sort of what I do.
So I saw you, was it April that you came down to choreograph for Lindsay Thorngren? March, April?
March,
okay.
I think.
Okay.
I can't remember. Yes. It was the end of March, maybe the first week of April.
Okay, because we were walking into a restaurant and I said to you, do you have other jobs planned for choreographing? And you're like, no, and I don't want any. And then a week later, there's like a photo of like you and Tim, and then Satoko. No, it was the pair team first that you worked with, Ben and Brooke. So what is this dabbling into choreography?
How do you... well, first of all, I'm old enough to know, I should know, to never say never. And it's complicated because it has nothing to do with kind of not wanting to do it. It has everything to do with wanting to be 100% when I do. And so if I'm busy with a lot of projects, then I don't feel I can give a competitor what they deserve. And so, you know, one thing leads to the next. And I mean, I've never lived with a plan. And so if somebody calls kind of at the right time when I feel I have time and the brain power and the heart to do it, then I do it. So never say never. I'm never going to say another word to you again, Dave, because you're just going to quote me back to me.
Well, it's funny that I actually recommended that Lindsay use you on the show last year, and then they actually wound up calling you. And I had talked to you, you're like, do you know this skater? And what? And it's like, yeah. So talk about working with Lindsay, because she's very athletic. She's kind of on the quieter side. Not many people know a lot about her. And she has her coach, Julia Lautova, is spicy enough for 10 people. So what is, what was it like working with Lindsay?
Well, delightful. I mean, she's such a lovely young lady. And yes, she's quiet, and yes, she's shy. And I think that's part of her charm. I thoroughly enjoyed working with her. First of all, her technique is pure. And right from watching her videos before, when I was starting to think about music, I could see that she competed up, that she has a fire in her belly. And that's what you need. It doesn't, I think, being quiet or shy at different times in your life is, you know, part of who you are. And I wanted to work with that. I certainly didn't want to change her. And Julia has been incredibly supportive. I mean, we've been a very collaborative team, and it couldn't have happened, certainly with me not doing a lot of competitive or any competitive choreography. It couldn't have happened without a real collaborative effort. And you know, in many ways, Julia held my hand, because I'm not up to date on all the rules, and I did have to do a crash course. And David Wilson was incredibly supportive. I mean, I would call him and text him all this time, just going like, you know, tell me, what do I, you know, what are these rules, and help me understand what the job is now, because it's completely different. And I didn't want to let Lindsay and Julia down.
Now, the best part of this is that you didn't know that there's live barn at rinks in the US. So we all watched you work. You know, I thought it was interesting that like you were choreographing the spins in a way that people never do. Like you were doing old school choreography.
I'm old school. Yes. Well, okay. So the thing that I find the most challenging in this system is and I understand why you have to do it. I mean, now you have to choreograph with the length of the trick in mind. I mean, yes, of course, we always did that to a certain extent, but now this spin takes 20 seconds. This footwork takes 40 seconds. This, everything is in seconds. And I don't think that way. I think in musical phrasing. And so it was so foreign to me to sort of stop and go, oh, well, we need 20 seconds for this spin. And we're yeah, but what about the music? What's the music telling you to do? So I had to figure out how I could maneuver through that and accommodate the rules, accommodate the 20-second spin or whatever the trick was, but stay true to my own philosophies of choreography and maneuver it, you know, so that I could, so that it made sense to me. And it gave me a real new appreciation for what the choreographers are going through now, you know, and I'd worked a little bit alongside David and Jeff Buttle's been at the rink and that kind of thing through the summer. And I sort of looked at them going like, wow, it's amazing what you do now, what you have to do now.
So tell us about the music, the song that you picked, how that came about.
Well, I've loved this song since forever, and I've always wanted to use it. It's Windmills of Your Mind, and the version. I mean, there are several different versions, and I've loved them all. I think, you know, Dusty Springfield. You know, it's a Saturday morning with your cup of coffee kind of song, right? It's just so gorgeous. It's just so gorgeous. It's 70s, it's wistful, it's feminine. And when I saw Lindsay skating, I thought, gosh, you know, I'd like to get something like this song. But the variations, I mean, the covers with Dusty Springfield. Sting did a version for the remake of the Thomas Crown Affair, which is what the song, it's a Michel Legrand song. And that was what it was originally composed for. And then I found a Barbra Streisand version, which is really beautiful, but not quite right yet for Lindsay. I wanted something contemporary with a more contemporary feel, sort of, you know, marrying the two worlds of something that's a little bit retro, but that's something that's very current. And so we were looking and looking at classical and looking at everything. But I had sent, I think, the Dusty cover and the Barbra Streisand cover to Lindsay and to Julia, just to say, this is kind of where I'm thinking. Well, Lindsay, and you know, there's a sort of I mean, I love the lyrics and I love the mystery of the lyrics. And I thought that the mystery of the lyrics suited Lindsay. In the meantime, I guess Lindsay really liked it and she started searching herself for other arrangements of it. And she's the one who found the version that we've got, which is a young UK singer, Venus. And I was just thrilled for a couple of reasons. First of all, I think the young voice, the contemporary voice, and the simple, clean arrangement really suited Lindsay and her age. And then the fact that Lindsay found it made it hers, and that thrilled me. I was thrilled, and everybody loved it, and I felt like, you know, it's almost a cappella. It's in a way, I suppose, risky, but what I liked is that it was to me a familiar song for a certain generation, but also contemporary in its feel. So I'm thrilled that they loved it too, and that she found it.
Did you have input on the costume? Because she had a very elevated dress that was the packaging was taken up a notch. So
well, I mean, again, it was collaborative. I communicated with Julia about that. I thought it should be simple, and so that we could really see Lindsay. I felt that it should be different from what she's looked like before because she's grown up, and hopefully different from everybody else because I think Lindsay's unique. I mean, she has this balance of purity and strength, which, you know, as a competitor is just so wonderful. And I wanted to showcase her pure lines. I mean, her gorgeous spirals and all her positions. And so I expressed what I thought, and it was collaborative. And you know, Julia has strong opinions, which I admire, and she cares deeply. And so that, again, that collaborative effort was great. Yeah.
Now, you worked with Satoko, and she did post that she's doing Prince, which was such an interesting choice. And then I realized the other day, all the ice dancers are now doing Prince programs, but at the time,
Oh,
it's
really?
like because the theme is the 80s for the rhythm dance. But
Oh, I didn't know that.
so everyone has
Everybody's doing Prince.
Prince or
Oh
Michael
no.
Jackson or anything
And
that you
we
did.
thought
Yes. But it was a
she'd be
departure for
totally different.
Satoko. Yeah.
Well, David and I collaborated on that, and I mean, he brought me in to work with her, and it's so that we would create something together, and I mean, oh my gosh, she's just the sweetest person, and extraordinarily talented. I mean, our jaws would drop every time she'd warm up, just watching her skate around the ice. And it was such a privilege to work with her. We just wanted to do something fun and different for her, different, just to break new ground for her. I had no idea what was going on in the rest of the world, and the ice dancers were, doing this. We
So you
just
broke
ended
her
up
out
with
of her
that
shell.
song.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
You broke her out of her shell, which you've been want to do, and you've done this with other female skaters in the past.
I mean, I don't know if it's a shell. It's just, I think all skaters, all artists go through phases in their lives. I mean, we all do, and sometimes you feel like wearing a bun, and sometimes you feel like letting your hair down.
Ken Lu
Right?
from like Butterfly Lovers to this Santana program with like sexualized layback that really took people for a loop.
Was it that bad? No.
It was just, it was unexpected, Santa. You would say, it was unexpected. Yeah.
But we're always trying to express ourselves in different ways. I mean, we're not just one thing. None of us is just one thing. And a program can't be all things. It has to be focused, conceptually focused. And so, one day you want to wear pink and the next day you want to wear black. I mean, you want to express all facets of yourself. And so, I mean, with Lulu, we went on a creative arc, but it also goes along with not just her arc, my own arc, and whatever phase of life or, whatever you're going through personally, it all squeezes out of you, right? Like it all, and all the other influences. I mean, there are so many influences, and you go, well, let's try that on today.
Well, what was it like working with Yelim Kim? Because she's had an interesting trajectory. She's been around for a number of years in the senior scene, but during COVID, she really got a lot physically stronger. She started competing with more of that like Yuna grit to her a little bit.
Yes.
That's like quietly coming out. Yeah.
Yes, that quiet strength. I mean, that's like Lindsay. That was like Lulu and Christy. That quiet strength. I love that. And well, with Yelim, we met when I went with David to Korea to make Yuna's last show that we did, Move Me, all that skate, and the tour or the show that we called Move Me. And Yelim was one of the cast members, and that's where I got to meet her. So when David asked me to join her to do her free program, I was thrilled. And of course, working with David is, I mean, I'll go to any day David calls me, I'm there. And he's a dear friend and a wonderful collaborator. And I mean, he's so joyous, and he's so wonderful to be around. So he called, and he chose the music. He did everything, and I just had a blast with the two of them. She's really coming into her own, maturing, and is ready, to kind of attack the world in her very quiet way.
Okay.
Which Well, I'm not ready to talk about the program because I don't think she's announced it.
Yes,
I
that's
don't
okay.
know. I don't know what people do now. It's sort of like these announcements. But it was wonderful. And I'm very proud of that program.
I'm excited to
I
see it.
think we again, this collaborative effort, I think we did a good job. And I could tell that she really understood where we were going with it, and came alive. So she was making it her own, which is really the key, isn't it? Is for them all to make it their own.
How about Ben and Brooke? You worked with them. They're a pair from Canada. What was that collaboration like?
Well, that's still, work in progress. So I'm not quite ready to talk
Okay.
about that one.
You get on the ice with your pink suede skates and
I do my pink suede skates that I love my pink skates. They don't actually fit me very well, and it's my fault, not Harlech's. I asked them to stretch them, and then they're a little too big for me. But so it's a question of getting new skates or wearing skates that are a little too big for me, and so I stumble around in them. But I really need to get a new pair. But I'm kind of attached to these. So, but I never really think that I'm going to be back out there that much. So I don't know.
you didn't want to choreograph after Lindsay, but then you were kind of busy this summer, etc. Yeah.
Well, no. It hasn't been a lot, but it's been mostly David Wilson's fault. Other than Lindsay, it's been all David's fault.
Yeah.
So you could, yeah.
I look forward to it. Any other things on the horizon for you that we should be?
Well, the comedy series that, again, I'm not supposed to talk about so much. I don't know what I'm allowed to say.
I know that there was a comedy series.
There is a comedy series. No,
comedy.
it's done. It's a 6-part series for Crave. It's going to be streamed. I don't know when the air date is. I think fairly soon. And I can say that it's Carolyn Taylor, who is a very well-known comedian here in Canada, and actually maybe in the States, because her series, I know, is down there. Another series that she created called the Baroness von Sketch series has had airtime. It's streaming somewhere down there, but she's a comedian who's never skated. She's skated like every Canadian has skated, as a kid, and she got it in her head that she should choreograph. And so I don't want to say more because I don't know what I'm allowed to say, but it's unscripted. It's comedy. Please, everybody, when you watch it, remember it's a comedy. I'm one of the producers, but I'm also in it, among others, skaters, and it's very fun, and it's kind of a love letter to skating in a way, or her love letter to skating. I don't know. It's very funny. She's fabulous, and she's become a dear friend, and I had a wonderful experience.
Yeah.
But I have no idea
because as much as
how it's going to be received,
and you're not doing the stuff, you did let me know that you were listening to the Oppenheimer soundtrack, and I was like, she's
well, and I said, where's Paul Wiley? Where's Paul Wiley when we need him?
Yes,
right. The Oppenheimer soundtrack is just when you
I'm trying
watch it with the movie. It's pardon me.
I'm trying to see it in IMAX because you told me.
Oh yeah, you have to see it on IMAX.
People are like, but it's 3 hours. But you said it's worth it.
It's a fast 3 hours. I thought it was brilliant and inspiring. Devastating. It's devastating. But the movie brings every emotion forward, and it's beautifully woven together and just so graceful and powerful, and the music just completely well, it's just perfect for the story and the storyline, and the way it unfolds is incredible. And you kind of walk out of there. I mean, first of all, you're devastated with the story, of course, but it also, I just was so inspired as an artist when I walked out. I was like, you just want to soar when you're creating. You want to be that good at creating something.
Well, I think
it's
you
inspiring.
Just sold a lot of tickets to the movie. So
Pardon me?
I think you just sold a lot of tickets to the movie because it's I want to go see it.
Yeah, you do have to go see it. It's very thoughtful, and the performances are brilliant, and so many unbelievable actors in it, and of course Cillian Murphy. I can't. You can't take your eyes off him, and he's almost in every scene.
Well, thank you so much. We're going to have to check back in with you when you can talk about.
When I can talk about things,
but announce your series or things like this. Yes.
Well, yeah, we'll have to talk about the comedy series for sure, because I think it's good for skating. I think it's not for the skating public, but it is. It's a comedy, and we should be laughing.
Well, thank you so much, Sandra.
Thank you, Dave. It's nice to see you.
See you.